Hello, Hearties. Welcome to another edition of Hearties Hotline, hot off the presses. We are your hosts, Sarah, the hawk-eyed Heartie, and you all know my friend and co-host, Cammie, the hooked Heartie.
We're back to normal.
We're back to normal. No cowboy hats this week. We are back to When Calls the Heart reviews, and we are on season 3, episode 3, Heart of a Hero.
Now, by what reckoning, Sarah? Is it episode 3? Is it episode 4? Or is it episode 5?
I kind of give up. We've been back and forth on this so many times. Like, I don't know if the movie was an episode or not. Whatever.
It's Heart of a Hero.
Or 2 episodes if you count both hours. Somehow they have figured it out. We are, they have to figure it out because they're counting episode 2 of the upcoming season 10, as their 100th episode. So somebody somewhere knows the count. I don't know what it is. We'll have to backtrack it. If I have to count backwards from
dear,
and we'll figure out what
we will not be recording that.
Yeah. A little. I don't know. You know how they say like people would listen to somebody reading the phone book? Like maybe they would watch us counting. I don't know.
No.
Okay. On second thought. Moving right along. Heart of a Hero. I had to stop and kind of think like, who do you think that should be our question of the day. Do you have one?
I didn't have a question.
Who does your mind go to first when you hear that? Who do you think is the hero of the episode?
Well, funny you should mention that. I just happen to have a list. So I made a list of everyone who was a hero in this episode. So we got Bill. We got Abigail.
Mm-hmm.
We got Cody in his own little way.
Yeah.
We got Jesse.
Jesse's not like that big obvious hero from the whole episode, but he's probably my favorite because you see that whole character arc,
Yeah.
Like now that we've watched later episodes, not giving big spoilers, but like when you've seen how far he's come and you look back and this is kind of like that real pivotal moment for him.
Yeah, this is a big turning point for him. Then we got Frank. Frank's a hero.
Big time.
And
well, who's the other one? Anybody else?
I'm missing somebody.
Somebody.
Oh, right. The guy I call a hero in every episode. Then there's Jack.
He was a pretty big hero, But you're right. Like there were so many. That's what I love about some of the titles that they give these episodes is you have your mind go one way and this is what you think they're talking about, but really there's so many different ways that concept can really, put into action.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Okay, but I mean, what can we say? The man's a hero in pretty much every episode. That was kind of his thing. Yeah.
If you gotta have a thing, that's a pretty good thing.
You gotta have a thing, then it's a good thing to have.
Oh my goodness. The other piece that really ran through this, which we've talked about, I think runs through the entire series, really is redemption. So it started out with Elizabeth writing, and I love the part where she says, here in Hope Valley, no one is judged by their past and redemption is possible. And that was just a great way to start the episode and set the tone for especially people like Frank and Jesse who are coming through this turning point.
And they're feeling the spirit of community from the people of Hope Valley. Hope Valley has kind of taken them in like a mother hen. And Frank and Jesse, oh my gosh, I just realized Frank and Jesse James. We got the two names of one of the most famous teams of bank robbers in the West. Of course, that's the States, but you know, but yeah, Frank and
maybe that was on purpose.
I have to wonder now.
Yeah, that's a good question. Next time we talk to somebody.
Let me call up Brian really quick. But Frank and Jesse have really been taken in under the wings of Hope Valley.
Jesse not so much yet.
Not yet, but it's
coming.
The fact that he came to Jack and Bill and got them, and he was waiting right outside there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's the steps. It's the steps.
Yeah. No, I think this is the episode that made people trust him.
Yeah.
So episode starts out and Elizabeth is talking about her writing. Like she said, she has the beginning and middle, but she needs the ending. She doesn't know how to end her story. And we all know she takes a lot of inspiration from her community and her friends. So starts out right with her and her best friend.
Yeah. And her best friend's foster child being a little clingy.
A little bit clingy. Well, I mean, that's to be expected, right? I mean, I think it's kind of funny actually that as they're talking, she's saying he's not usually like this. You've known him how long? He's still pretty new to you. And look at what he's been through.
Yeah. And now all of a sudden he has people who are volunteering to take care of him. Yeah. And even when he has put up such a fuss, they stuck by him. So of course,
and he's missing his sister still. Yeah. And like there's a lot going on for a kid this age. I think the clinginess is totally warranted.
Oh, yes.
Even without the situation that actually happens with Cody in this episode, even before that, just, yeah, he's gonna be clingy. He's gonna be questioning his place in this town, his place in her family.
It's bad timing.
It's horrid timing. Oh my goodness. Poor Cody. So let's just talk about that. I did not remember Anna being so
cruel. You didn't?
I had forgotten it because she's so wonderful in all the other episodes after this. Like we don't see that. I almost died when I saw that again. I was just like, oh.
Yeah, when Elizabeth said to Abigail, I don't blame Anna. I don't think she meant to be cruel. I'm like, in what way?
I blame Anna. I blame Anna.
Not for the whole entire situation, but
well, of course it was, again, bad timing.
Very, very bad timing. But Anna's old enough to know that words hurt. And she's
right, even if she believes that.
Yeah.
Why would you say that?
Yeah, and she's old enough to know that if you can't say something nice, you know.
Right. And it wasn't like there's different ways to phrase those feelings if she's a child that's trying to understand adoption and all of those kinds of things. Like there's different ways to phrase that. Like you said, she knows how to, she's old enough to be nice.
Yes, she's old enough
try to have a little bit of tact, you know, like she knows this child has lost his parents. Like, so to say something about not being, even if that was true, like why would you insult somebody, be like, well, now your mom's dead, so you don't have anybody to love you.
Well, and the other thing is, I mean, she said, I'm going to get my mother to help me. I'm going to get Miss Abigail to help me.
Perfect. End of conversation.
You're both getting help from adults who are looking after you.
And it wasn't as if Elizabeth had even said, get your parents to help you.
Yeah.
She said anybody can help you.
Yes.
So, yeah. So anyway, yeah. Sorry, Cadence. No, it's not you.
We love you, Cadence.
We love Cadence. But
Anna, in this episode, needed some paste on her mouth.
Yeah. And I probably would have had a slightly different reaction as her teacher than Elizabeth did. And instead of saying, I don't blame her. I maybe would have said, I don't think Anna knew the depth in which that would have was her. I don't think she was intending to intentionally hurt, I don't think she had intentions of hurting him.
But I would have said she needs to be spoken to.
Talking to.
Yes.
Or I'm gonna be chatting with her mother about this or something.
Yeah.
Because that's so hurtful. Oh, so yes. So Anna kind of doesn't help the situation by implying to Cody and flat out saying to Cody that Abigail can't love him as much as her mom loves her.
Yeah.
And then unfortunately, this is at the exact same time that Abigail is trying to spend more time with Frank. She's, going out on a date, and that does not go over well for Cody, who is already feeling insecure about being there. And then here's these things from Anna. Oof, what a tough situation.
I gotta give kudos to Elizabeth though, because she's finally in her own home. She can finally do writing. She can finally spend some time with her boyfriend uninterrupted if she so chooses. And she just jumps in and says, I'll help you with the words, Cody. We'll do spaghetti and meatballs. You can play with Rip. And I'm just like, wow, Elizabeth, you are a good friend.
Right. Yeah, no, she definitely seemed to be comfortable in this episode. She's gotten to that point, like you said, where she's moved out, but now she's feeling comfortable. Now she's settled. So it's easier to feel like you can help out and pitch in with different things when you're not consumed with all of your own transitions. So then Cody's not very happy about Elizabeth offering all of this help because he doesn't want it from her. He kind of, if you look at it from his perspective, he's probably feeling like he's being passed around.
Yeah, I was just going to say tossed around.
Yeah, I mean, here you're feeling like you're not part of Abigail's family, and then all of a sudden you're not, really. I mean, wow, well, she's busy, so you wanted spaghetti, just go have spaghetti with somebody else. Cool.
And Elizabeth saves the day again.
Yeah, with some help from Jack.
Yes, but it was her idea.
It's a brilliant idea. I can't take credit for something like that. Like, she just has that teacher. She just thinks of it. I'm like, how do you think of it like that in the moment?
If Cody had been sitting at my table, I would have said, okay, sit there and starve then.
I'm gonna eat, yeah. But what does she do?
I know, I don't know if I can make it work.
I don't think I can actually do it, but yeah. I think their spoons were more curved.
Probably.
Mine is very shallow.
In fact, laughing is strictly forbidden. I mean, and what a brilliant idea to get the kid to eat by saying that there are giggles trapped in his stomach and that's why he's not hungry. I'm just like, wow.
I mean, she knew that she just had to break the tension.
Yep.
And once his mind was off of being sad, that then he could focus. So, and it worked. Amazing.
Yep, very true.
Oh, so then Cody ends up getting 100% on the spelling test. I loved his look of smugness to Anna.
To Anna. Mm-hmm.
She totally deserved that.
Oh, she totally deserved that.
And she took it well. She almost took it like, yeah, I was wrong.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I would have liked to have seen a little bit of closure with that, with Anna.
Oh.
By the end of the
we didn't hear if Anna got 100% because
we didn't hear if Anna got 100%. We didn't see them talk it out. We didn't see anybody address anything with her.
Yeah.
Which I mean, it's fine.
They still didn't know about it at this point.
Well, no, but I mean, just in the whole episode, it would have been nice to have had more closure with that part of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Because that would, I mean, that would have been nice to be like, okay, she gets not to do that again.
Yeah.
But then he gets home and he's so excited to show Abigail his certificate. And she's
out for a while.
out with Frank again. Uh-oh.
This is all just, like I said, terrible timing. If he hadn't been going through all of this, it wouldn't have been that big of a deal.
No.
Because he likes Frank.
Happened. Yeah, he does. And you can tell in future episodes and even in past episodes, like he knows he's a good guy.
Yeah, when he went and asked Frank to pray for Becky, and then he said, let's pray together. You know, I mean, Frank is a very inclusive person. He's not trying to ostracize Cody. He just wants some time alone with the woman. Can you blame him? You know?
Yeah, totally. Oh, so.
And like a temper-ridden 10-year-old, he tears up the
certificate. Oh.
I remember, who was I watching it with? I think one of my children, and they're like, certificate, big deal. I'm like, okay, guys.
It can be.
It can be. And also, we're talking about 1912. They didn't have trophies, not the way they do now. A certificate was a big deal to kids back then.
And they didn't do it very often.
No, they didn't. I mean, nowadays you get a certificate for almost anything. And so they did not do that kind of thing the way they did. It was a much bigger deal. It was like winning a trophy.
Yeah. I mean, you can see from the way that Elizabeth presented that everyone will get this certificate.
Yeah.
It was a big, ooh. Oh my goodness. But again, Elizabeth knows exactly what to do immediately. I was like, wow. I have teacher envy throughout this episode. I'm like feeling a little insecure over here.
It's okay. I have mother envy because I wish I would handle some of those things that way with my kids. So I get it.
Exactly. I don't think I've ever pulled out a nursery rhyme that in the moment in a timely way. Like I've
pulled out movie quotes that fast before.
Yes, I can attest to that. You have. And song lyrics. And every once in a while a religious concept, you know. Yes. But nursery rhymes, I feel like I should be better at nursery rhymes. Being a preschool teacher, I've never pulled out the ugly duckling and solved a child's problems.
Shameful.
So much envy. But not only that, I loved the line when he says, I'm not her real family, I just live in her house. And Elizabeth said, no, you live in her heart. That was so perfect. And it was what he needed to be able to then hear and believe Abigail when she came home and told him that she loved him.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have probably been ready to accept and believe that without that kind of precursor.
No, I don't think so. It helps that Abigail knew the situation.
Oh, totally.
But yeah, with that preemptive talking to, and there's another case of bad timing. Cody has to go stay with Elizabeth because a rock got thrown through the window. You know,
I forgot about that. Yeah.
So we've got Anna saying that Abigail doesn't love him like real family. And then she goes out with Frank twice. And on top of that, he has to go and stay with Elizabeth because he's in danger there, you know.
And what's interesting about that part of the show is that he was just starting to feel like he had overcome the concern from what Anna had said, and Abigail had promised to work on the spelling the next day after her date with Frank, and he was like starting to like maybe believe that he was fitting in, and then he's worried about her, and he's feeling like this is how I can be part of her family. I can be the man. I can protect her. I can be the man of the house and protect her. And then she sends him away. to Elizabeth's. And so it's not even just he's being sent away for his safety, but he was trying to step up and prove that he was needed by her.
With his little wooden sword.
His little wooden sword. Stick sword. So adorable. And yeah, just that timing.
This kid went through a whole lot of emotional drama in this one episode.
But in the end, she tells him that she loves him and that she needs him as much as he needs her, which I think might not even be true. I think she needs him more.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It is a tough one, but she definitely needs him just as much, if not more.
Yeah.
Because she needs to feel a purpose beyond a cafe owner.
Yeah. It's giving her back something she'd lost. In a different way, obviously, but giving her that same feeling of importance as a mother.
God put you in my life for a reason. From the moment you came here, I wanted you to stay.
Yeah. And then they pan away and they've taped the certificate back together.
Yeah. Probably pasted, but you know. All's well with Cody by the end of this episode.
Oh, yeah. Such a difference. But things also took a lot of different turns with Abigail throughout the episode in terms of her relationship with Frank. And I loved how Elizabeth and her were chatty about him throughout the whole episode. Like, it started out the whole little girl talk over tea, but it kept right on going. And Elizabeth really, if she hadn't stepped in and volunteered to watch Cody, they wouldn't have
Abigail would not have gone.
Yeah.
Are you going on a date or to a funeral? Oh dear.
Yes. And just that supportiveness, like, you know, she's at the beginning, she's like, you're worried, but they go on their date and he has asked her to play darts.
Oh boy. Obviously, he did not learn his lesson with the fishing.
Right? I mean, it's really kind of a pattern of behavior here. He should have seen it coming. So she started, I love this. Is this how I hold it? And I love how she really is holding it correctly. And he's all like, no. And he's coming over like, no, you have to do this. He doesn't move her fingers on the dart at all. He just turns her hand around. Like, obviously she's not going to throw it at herself. It was very funny. So
it's called an excuse to touch her. You know?
You think? Which is really probably why she was doing it, more so than to trick him. It's like, oh, let's see if he'll show me.
I think she was killing two birds with one stone.
Okay, fair enough. So
we were talking about smug smiles.
Oh,
said I was a beginner.
Runs in the family, apparently. Must be where Cody learned it from.
Must be.
So she throws apparently just a minor throw just to throw him off, and then bullseye. Have I been taken?
When I watched this episode way back when it aired in 2016, I had a friend from college. His name is Aaron. He and I are still friends. I called him up immediately. When Frank took the darts and raised that one eyebrow, I can't even do it. I can't raise my one eyebrow, but when he just smiled at her and raised that one eyebrow, I immediately called my friend Aaron. I said, dude, I found you in 30 years.
Oh no.
He looked exactly like my friend Aaron. And I said, you have to watch this show. Because this was the first season that I watched episode by episode, right?
Okay, okay, that's right.
So I was like, dude, you gotta watch it. He never did, but that's okay.
You could just send him a screenshot. Be like, this is
I thought of it, but that wouldn't be nearly as much fun.
So a lot of fun banter between the two of them. She does know how to play darts. He doesn't do nearly as well as she does.
Figures.
But she apologizes. I hope you aren't mad at me.
Man, I'm impressed.
She's a pretty impressive character. Yeah, I can see that. So sets up really nice for a nice little ending to the evening. That was some good night kiss.
That was some good night kiss. Do you find it strange that she had this magical evening and ended it beautifully with this wonderful kiss, and then she walks in and there's the ex-boyfriend?
Yeah, I wrote down that that the goodnight kiss was rudely interrupted, and the kiss wasn't, but like her mood from it,
yeah,
very rudely interrupted.
The after effects. She wasn't able to swoon anymore.
Yeah,
she had to go
pulled right out of that fantasy.
She had to go into business mode. I didn't know I had a curfew.
Obviously, Bill has this personal vendetta, I believe he called it, against the Garrison Gang for his friend's murder, which totally understandable. Do you think that's all it is? Or do you think he's jealous as well?
I don't sense any jealous motives when he's dealing with Abigail. When he's talking to Frank, on the other hand,
later in the saloon,
I get jealous vibes, but it's shrouded in, you cannot put her in danger. And Frank knows that.
Yeah.
So,
but in the saloon scene, he also says, stay away from her, at least until this is resolved. Why on earth would he have to continue staying away from her afterwards?
After effects, you never know how long that
he might break out of prison and then come back and be after you someday. I never know.
I think by this time, Bill isn't, because he would not have entered into a partnership with her if he didn't think he could handle it.
Yeah.
And
so
it's been strictly business. I think that maybe it's not all completely resolved, and he cares about her. He doesn't want anything to happen to her.
Yeah.
But I think most of his actual jealous feelings got resolved in season 2. Now, I could be wrong, but
it's tough because it comes down to kind of defining jealousy. Mm-hmm. I don't think he has romantic feelings for her anymore.
Okay.
But I definitely think there's more of a,
you mess with this town, you mess with me.
Well, no, but I think there is a personal aspect to it, because I think she wouldn't forgive Bill and stay and continue a relationship with him when he had misled her about his past. And here his past was nowhere near as bad. Criminal, like it wasn't criminal.
Yeah.
It was misleading. And it was probably more intentionally misleading because it was about his romantic past. However, who tells somebody that deep of a secret about their romantic past when you just started getting to know them? So, I mean, I feel like, yes, it blew up in his face. He could have been more forthcoming. But I mean, so he's been through this situation where he really liked Abigail. He had feelings for her. He was learning to move on after his failed marriage, and she couldn't see
finally moving on.
She couldn't, but Abigail couldn't see past that in the situation of Bill. And so now it's another year later, another 2 years later, and you've got somebody who lied about his criminal past.
That's a good point.
Who now also has ties to someone who you know murdered a good friend of yours. And you don't know. You know he's already lied once. So you're having trouble believing for sure that he wasn't involved in that, or that he doesn't know somebody who was involved in that.
That's a good point.
So he's got a lot more distrust of Frank, and feels like his transgressions are worse than what he did in the past, that he misled Abigail about. And here Abigail is forgiving that and moving on and continuing to pursue a relationship, a potential relationship with Frank. So I don't think that Bill necessarily still has romantic feelings for Abigail, but I do think he probably is wondering, why is she moving on with him? She didn't move on with me. I don't feel like what I did was as bad as what he did. He probably has like some feelings of uncertainty, some feelings.
He's jealous of the situation.
Exactly. Like, how come this is working out this way? And probably feeling like potentially she is being taken advantage of, because it doesn't make sense to him why she would move on with him and not Bill. So I think there's jealous tones to it, if that makes sense.
No, that does.
Maybe not romantic jealous, but some hurt that it's working out that way, and caring about Abigail and wanting to make sure she doesn't get hurt in the process.
I tell you what, though, when Bill showed his real hero chops was when he let Jack talk him down from shooting Garrison, because that.
So, I mean, Garrison is not only wanting Frank, but now he's done waiting. He's angry with Jesse. Yeah. Jesse promised him he could get him. And now Jesse's like waffling. And now Jesse's like, well, let's just move on.
Do you think Jesse threw the rock?
That's a great question. Did we ever get that answered? He could have thrown the rock as a warning. Trying to scare him.
But I think it was probably Garrison or one of the other. I think it was
the Garrisons, because they were throwing it at Abigail's. I think if Jesse had done it, I think he would have tried to be scaring Frank.
Yeah.
I think he would have thrown it at the church, or, I mean, Frank's living there, right? But actually, isn't there a room in the back? That's where he lives.
I think so. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think he would have directed it towards him. But Garrison is not nervous or apprehensive about threatening people, clearly.
No.
He doesn't directly do it, but he tells, are they brothers? They're all named Garrison in the.
No, it's just the Garrison Gang. They don't say their last names. They just say Jake Garrison.
So he tells him to, show him what we do to people who leave before I say so, or something like that.
Yeah.
And pulls out this major knife. So that's, I think, the moment when Jesse's like, I'm not getting out of this.
I'm stuck.
Yeah.
And that's when he makes the decision that, okay, this is not a good idea. This has gone from a job to a matter of life and death. And I think very fitting that he tells Clara. He finds Clara in town to tell her.
I think he realizes that because Frank has said he's not doing it, and I think he believes Frank that he's not going to turn back, he knows that the only way out of this for him is Garrison will kill him.
Yeah.
And now he realizes that he's kind of brought them to him. And now this man that he looks up to is in danger. So he has to go ahead and do something. And so, yeah, I don't know. Do you think he intentionally was looking for Clara? Clara just happened to be out and about at night.
He was looking to look for somebody that he truly trusts. And Clara's one of the only people that, and not only does he truly trust her, but I think he knows that she wouldn't say, he's over here.
Right here. Yeah. I don't know who else he would have confided in.
I don't think that, I mean, he could have done Abigail herself, but it was fitting. I think he was
It was
probably
very fitting.
I think he was probably watching for her.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So, do you think he was going to take off after that if Clara hadn't been so?
Oh, if Clara hadn't talked him out of it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Seemed like
absolutely.
he was just gonna run.
Oh yeah, he was gonna run, but she talked him into sticking around and fighting for it, and that's what was one of the best things about the shot when they bring Frank out of the church and Jesse's standing right there behind the guys with the guns.
Yeah.
But he's standing right there because he went and got Jack and Bill.
Right. Because at first, when you see the Garrisons kind of converging on Frank, I kind of wondered if Frank was sitting there as bait, you know, because it seemed just awkward. It's just like, and he seemed to expect them. So, well, and
he's expecting them anyway.
Well, true. So at first you're just kind of wondering, you know, was this already a plan? Are Bill and Jack waiting outside? So when you see Jesse, you realize that this wasn't planned. And Jesse went and got them and got back up, even though it could have gone a very different way, him approaching Jack and Bill.
It's true.
And I think, I wonder if Clara went with him.
Oh, to get Jack and Bill.
To get Jack and Bill.
It would not surprise me. Clara sees Jesse as this poor lost soul who needs her help.
Lost. That is exactly what I was going to say.
Yep.
He's lost.
He's lost. And he needed the guts to go and get Bill and Jack because he did not have it. He was going to split. So it wouldn't surprise me if she went and got the two guys with her.
So when she's telling him that he needs to fight and, you know, that he could start a new life here in Hope Valley, if Matt Landry can do it, so can you.
Mm-hmm.
And he says he's a better man than I am.
Well, you ain't wrong, buddy.
No, but that's one of the lines that I thought was really crucial for Jesse, because he's admitting now that he doesn't have all the answers. He's doing what he's doing because he thinks it's all he can do. He's kind of come to realize that this is all I'm good for. That's what he believes.
Mm-hmm.
And then that there is no changing. And she doesn't believe that. Clara tells him, I don't believe that. And that's what makes their relationship over the years so special, is that, you know, here she's been through so much.
Yeah. And
here she's presented with this suitor who ends up having lied to her about everything.
Who turns out to be a liar and a criminal.
Yeah. And yet she still believes that he can change.
Yeah.
But in a safe way, not in the Julie Thatcher season 1 kind of way. Like, oh, you'll just change who you are and we'll all be good now. Yeah.
I'm gonna marry you.
Yeah, it's great. You know, she's much more realistic about it, but she still sees something in him and encourages that, which is pretty great.
Yeah.
So, but yes, so then, like what you were saying earlier, so then Jesse gets shot trying to help Frank, and Jack takes off after Bill, who is cornering
Garrison.
Whew, do you think, I almost got the vibe from Garrison, like he wanted him to shoot him so that it would just be over. Like he doesn't
definitely taunting him.
He doesn't really seem like a guy who wants to go to jail.
No, and the way that I see it is he was daring him, because one of two things, if Jack hadn't shown up, one of two things would have happened. Bill would have shot him, or he would have broken down and Garrison would have run. So I think he was just trying so hard to get him upset, because then it would have distracted him and he would have made a break for it. Problem is he's injured, so he couldn't totally make a break for it. But I mean, Garrison is a taunter. He just has to do that. He did it with Frank. He did it with Jesse. And now he's doing it with Bill. Like, your friend died on his knees. We don't even know that he even remembers Benson.
Well, I mean, he did when he said, what surprised me was when he turned around to Bill and he said, "Do I know you?" Because I didn't really think Bill had said anything to imply that, but
no, but his vendetta against him.
He did seem quite
he's
more
like,
angry than he would have.
You like, have I threatened like Pirates of the Caribbean?
Can you remind me what I did to you? Because I know I did something.
You seem somewhat familiar. Have I threatened you before?
And when he said Benson, he said, bank robbery.
Yeah, that's possible, but I also wonder, because I'm assuming that a lot of people got shot in that robbery, and a lot of people have gotten shot in robberies over the years, and this was 10 years ago. I don't know that he remembers all of his victims.
Right, he might not like directly remember specifics, but
yeah, and I think he was just goading him. I think he was
Very
just
possible.
trying to pull it out of him.
Yeah, but I do think he probably recognized the name and like had a recollection of it. I also think when Bill mentioned Silas Ramsey, he didn't even flinch. He didn't question. There was like this look of kind of like, yeah, so I killed them all.
That's what I do.
You don't have any proof.
Yeah, exactly. Oh. But
yeah,
they get brought to justice by the man.
Justice anyway. Because and that was a great moment when he you know what we didn't talk about, though, I have to just mention this. It was really interesting to me that when the rock was thrown through the window, that had Matt Landry's name on it, immediately there is a town meeting of sorts in the saloon that only men are present at. It's very uncharacteristic of this show, really.
The men are the protectors of this town at this point.
Yes, but I can't recall any other time when that sort of thing happened.
Nope, they weren't planning a Mother's Day thing, so
like there's a bachelor party. That's like the only other time when I recall seeing only men in a room discussing something.
Yeah, but then the women show up. So
exactly. But I'm just saying, it stood out. It stood out to me. It was very interesting that none of the women were trying to be a part of that.
I think they were all too scared.
Yeah, totally. But it stood out as being kind of must have been one of the more serious situations that came up, because there were other situations in the town where they'd have like a town meeting at the saloon and everybody would be there.
Yeah. But no, I think they were letting the men handle this one.
Yeah, like, okay, let us know.
Well, and the other thing is, a lot of those women are widows. Something happens to them, their children are orphans.
Yeah.
So
yeah, this had a different feel to it.
Yeah,
definitely. So speaking of the men in town, we have a new man in town.
We have two new arrivals in town.
Two new arrivals, yes. But specifically a new man who's introduced very early because he runs into the church, into the school, looking for Jack.
Sarah's eyes were immediately captured by this man running into the school. Sarah may like Matthew just a wee bit.
Matthew is a great actor.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. I really adore his character in the Haley Dean mystery movies on Hallmark.
Jonas.
Because he's so adult. He's just a mature guy. You don't have any of those misunderstandings.
And when they happen, he won't let them. You know?
Right. It's just, you know, they have a very mature relationship in that series. And so it just has led me to really enjoy watching Matthew, because he brings kind of a different maturity to his roles that you don't find in a lot. Not dogging those kind of roles also on Hallmark, but it's kind of refreshing to see people dating who just are open and honest with each other about their fears, and letting people take their time and not feeling rushed, and that's just a very refreshing kind of attitude. So I really enjoyed that character of his. And so
not to mention he has that full head of hair and those gorgeous eyes, and
he has really great eyes with his that really light up in some different situations.
Runs up to Elizabeth and, have you seen Constable Thornton? And they're all
right. And at that time I didn't know who he was, so we're just all like, oh, who's this new guy? We don't know who this character is going to be. So new character, Wade Barrett. He's the new foreman at the sawmill, and also next door neighbor to Elizabeth. So we see him. So we see him for a little while on this in season 3, but in this episode, when we're introduced to him, he's, like I said, he's looking for Jack. There's been an accident at the mill. We're super immediately at the beginning of this episode really concerned for Lee,
because Lee's been hurt.
There's been some sort of accident, and he's been hurt. So we jump over to the next scene with that. Jack is helping Lee. I'm guessing they took him maybe to a room in the saloon.
That's what I'm guessing. Yeah.
There's a number on the door.
Yeah.
So it looks like a hotel room. He's got him up in this bed, and he's helped bandage his foot, which has been hit with a snapped cable.
Yeah. He was able to stop the bleeding, but that's about it. So
that's about it. And he pretty much, and we know he can do sutures and stitches, but he says this is more than I'm trained for. It sounds pretty bad.
Yeah, it has to be pretty bad if he can't sew up a cable laceration, and he can sew up a bear claw gash.
Right. Well, but I also think it comes down to where you're at. He's in a town. They have the capabilities of contacting a doctor who isn't too terribly far away, who they think can be here within the day. If you've been attacked by a bear and you're out in the middle of nowhere, you probably are like,
you're gonna do what you gotta do.
There's no doctor option here. 4 miles.
Yeah.
You probably just have to stitch it up and go, it's not gonna be done well.
Yeah.
Whereas he's probably like, I know it can be done better pretty soon if we contact Union City. So makes sense for him to be like, in an emergency, I could maybe do it.
But let's get you some real medical help.
I'd rather have a real doctor do this so that your foot can heal properly.
Well, and I mean, it's his best friend. He doesn't want to mess up on him.
Exactly. It makes sense. And you don't want to have Rosie on your bad side.
Ooh, I mean, Jack is already just coming over off of the bad side of Rosie. Yeah. So we don't want that.
Don't upset her. So, so I do think that was probably a smart decision on Jack's part. So Rosemary immediately rushes in and starts taking care of her man, right? That's what you do.
If that's what you want to call it, sure.
That's what she would call it at this point.
You're just gonna sit there and watch me sleep?
I'm surprised she didn't actually do this. I would have expected her to like,
she did this, like, I'll be as quiet as a mouse.
Won't know I'm here. Yeah, okay. That's always fun to just fall asleep with someone staring at you.
I know. I mean, I know he's in love with her, but that's still a little
that was pretty good. So that brings us to the second new arrival in Hope Valley. Now, I have to say, this was not an arrival I saw coming, even though it's not a brand new character to the show.
No, I thought she was done.
Is not an arrival I saw coming. I was watching live by now. I was watching season 2 live. So when I was starting to see some behind the scenes photos released of season 3, there was this blonde person in some like from far away cast photos. Like, here's this huge group of people, and I recognize every single one of them, and I'm like, it looks like Faith, but it can't be Faith. Like, that doesn't make any sense. She was in Hamilton. Nobody else from Hamilton is around in season 3 photos as they're filming. And they pretty much said they're not going to be in Hamilton. Like, when they were making announcements about season 3, we're not filming in Hamilton this season, like we did with season 2. And so it just didn't need, and she wasn't dressed the same way in any of the pictures. So it was very confusing, very, very confusing to see this blonde person, and a little nerve-wracking, because if I'm sure people recall, in season 2, there
were questions.
Faith was, while a very sweet person, it appeared that she was written there as a distraction, competition for Elizabeth. She was quite concerned about Jack spending time with her, and it was just, it played out in a way that this was, this is a little bit of tension here. And so when you see her step off the stagecoach and hug Jack immediately, I love the look on Gowan's face. Faith hugged Jack because it was so funny. He doesn't have a great,
he's in trouble.
He doesn't have a great camaraderie. Henry doesn't have a great camaraderie with anybody in town at this point. So for him to kind of have that funny look on his face, it was quite humorous to be like, oh, like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna tease Jack? But it was, and it was a very awkward first conversation with her, because even she's like being playful and funny and like, oh, I hope you don't think I, came here for you.
When she said that, I mean, granted, she said that she was engaged first, and so that was helpful. But then she said, you didn't think that I came all this way just to see you. I'm like, that was a little flirty.
It was a little flirty. And I have to say, the first time watching the season, I wondered if the fiance was real, or if she was just saying that to put him at ease and to save face if he wasn't interested. Like, I mean, because then she follows this up with, so what happened with Elizabeth? Is she still in Hamilton?
Mm-hmm.
Like, had she still been in Hamilton and Jack's single now, and he shows any interest, maybe then all of a sudden she breaks up with the fiance. I mean, it obviously was not that way. And I'll say that right now. I don't think it's a big spoiler to just be like, yes, she does have a fiance.
You have such a manipulative mind. I mean, the second she said, I have a fiance, I relaxed.
Oh, yeah. Well, like Elizabeth relaxed when she heard it.
Yeah. But she said, so you're engaged too. And she looked genuinely happy for him. So that's when I relaxed,
But I was concerned that this was, you don't know. We didn't know Faith at this point. We didn't know anything about her actual family or history or anything. And so it seemed just so convenient for her to be teasing him about thinking that she was coming there for him. Like, it's one of those things where, like, why would you bring that up unless that was really
in your
reason?
mind.
Yeah, it's on your mind a little too much.
But we had a really great way to show that she was not the one on Jack's mind.
Yes.
I remember watching the preview for that, and it has this big dramatic music saying, Elizabeth, I had I had nothing to do with her coming to Hope Valley, right? And so, I was nervous watching the preview, and then I watched the episode, and then Elizabeth's being all, I wish I could believe that, but I think I'm going to need something more than just words. I'm like, oh, they're fine.
Yeah, no. She wasn't actively jealous. I think she might have been a little bit more actively jealous without the fiance.
Yeah.
I think
probably.
She definitely, I love her reaction in the Mercantile when she heard the name Faith Carter.
Oh, you have a fiance.
I don't know if, like, that the name was in her mind. Like, just hearing Faith Carter from across the room, and she, like, I don't know that I would have caught that name. Like, that's really interesting to me. That's like, she really was concerned for a minute, and then hearing the fiance.
It wasn't across the room. They were both at the front counter. So,
but I mean, she barely even looked at her until she heard the name, which is actually a little odd, also, since they don't get a lot of strangers in town. Like, hi, I'm Elizabeth Thatcher. Who are you? But yeah, so very interesting. I loved that early relationship. I really like the dynamic between Elizabeth and Faith over the years. Even it's really, I would like to see some more scenes with them coming up in the new season. I think it's kind of,
I would like that as well.
It's neat to see kind of where they came from, kind of at odds, but not really, and just kind of getting through that. And they're sweet. They're both very sweet people. So I love Faith. I love Faith.
Yes, you do.
It took a while to know that we could trust her and to know what was going on, because season 3, Faith, is written in a way that does not show the viewer what's going on with her.
Yeah.
Until she
is purposefully kept a mystery for a few episodes.
For a few more episodes, yeah. So you've got an interesting dynamic here. You've got Faith's all of a sudden back in town and hugging Jack, yes. Wanting to be
Wade is being very helpful, fixing steps and hanging pictures and being so friendly. Yeah.
Well, the step hasn't come yet.
Oh, whoops, wrong episode.
Wade is showing up, helping her with things. So she must have gotten over her feelings of wanting to be independent and fixing everything in her home herself pretty quickly from that first episode. So I mean, season 3 starts out and she's all like, I'm doing everything myself, Jack.
Poor girl's tired. She just redid a whole house.
I can't hang a picture. I sanded all the floors and I fixed all the doorknobs and I did all of this work. I can't hammer one nail in the wall.
I also do think that she was doing it on purpose to help Wade feel welcomed into town.
Exactly. But I would have said that to Jack then when Jack was all, I could have hung this picture for you. That's what I would have said. I would have been like, it's just trying to make him feel welcome in town. That would have made so much more sense.
It would have. That's definitely
I'm like, lady,
true.
you just remodeled your whole house by yourself.
That's very true. But Wade would not have known that. So
yeah, exactly.
The one thing with Wade that is so interesting to me in this episode is at the very end when he and Hickam come into the saloon and say how the axle and the delivery wagon is broken. They're losing a lot of contracts. And at the end of the last episode of the previous episode, Lee made such a huge deal to Rosemary about how he's doing just fine.
because he was.
Yeah.
I think that's the point, is you're saying.
No, that's the sad part.
Right.
That's the sad part, is at the end of the previous episode, he says, I'm doing fine. I'm great. And then here,
yeah, we're
losing contracts. They're losing equipment left and right. And of course, Bill is suspicious.
Well, that's a lot to happen in a week.
Yeah.
Anywhere. But back then, what are the odds?
So here's a question for you. When Bill broke into the...
It's either a building at the sawmill, or it's like the livery or something.
Yeah. So when he broke in, did you suspect him of foul play? When he
Bill?
was... Yeah.
No,
when he broke
I actually thought he was going to get hurt. I thought somebody was going to hit him over the head.
Again,
because it was very reminiscent of that scene.
Yeah.
From earlier. So I was worried for him. Or I thought he was going to maybe find something more obvious. Like, you don't really see, you can tell he is finding something that he thinks is suspicious, but I don't know enough about, I equipment from the 1910s to know that looks like whatever he thought it looked like. But I thought there might be more happening right then than it did.
But it was a good lead-in to... It
was a great lead-in
to the next one.
So definitely something's going on with the sawmill. But what really matters is that Lee is okay. Faith came. He had good medical assistance.
We had another power struggle. Faith is just ruffling a whole lot of feathers here.
She was, but you know what I loved about it is that it showed that she had a lot of confidence in herself and her skills, but also just as a person to challenge somebody like Rosemary, who is very challenging, and to she knew she needed her out of there to be able to treat him effectively, because she was just getting into everything, and she knew she wouldn't leave without tricking her. And so it was a great little trick with the bell to have her test the bell. Go down the hall, we'll ring the bell, we'll see if you can hear it from far away.
And then Lee laughs. He laughs when Faith locks the door.
So, I would have liked to have seen that actually go on a little bit, like to see Rosemary's reaction to that would have been really funny, but it was really played very well.
Yeah.
And, Faith did her job, she took care of it, and then she genuinely apologized to Rosemary later, and Rosemary genuinely apologized to her.
And said, I deserved it.
Right.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen maybe a little more of an introduction when Jack brought her in, explaining that he knew her from Hamilton. You guys can totally, you can trust her.
You can trust her.
She took care of Tom, my brother, something along those lines. Or also, she didn't actually know who Rosemary was. For all she knew that they were married, like there was not who anybody was.
Faith is incredibly perceptive, and she has very, very good noticing skills. So there was no ring. So she said, okay, I'm shooing you out. I don't know.
It's very possible. But yeah, it's just one of those things. But I thought it was a lovely scene. I thought it was hilarious. And I liked just how personable they were to each other when they were apologizing. It set up very nicely for introducing a new character or reintroducing an old character that we didn't really know much about. And I thought it was
new atmosphere.
Sweet. Yeah. And I loved seeing Rosemary really, that was again, like, I feel like we've said this several times already in our season 3 reviews. This is really another scene when Rosemary had a moment where she took a step farther in not being all about herself.
She realized how much it scared her.
Yeah.
Because that cable, I mean,
that could have hit a different part of his body.
Yeah,
and that much more serious.
Yeah, that could have caused a much more serious injury, and infection and gangrene set in so easily back then, just because there were no sterile environments. Not really. And so, and especially not in a frontier town. And so that frightened her, and his foot was infected, but Faith was able to get rid of the infection because she's a good nurse.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was a big thing with Rosemary. I think that was one of the first moments when she thought, I could have lost him. And she realized just how much he meant to her. She got that a little bit in the previous episode when she realized just how much he meant to her when she thought he was going under, and she wanted to think of ways to help him rise up because she didn't want anything bad to happen to him. But now something physically bad has happened.
Yeah,
but now something physically bad has happened to him, and I think it frightened her, and she covered it up by being busy and trying to take care of him. And then she just she needed to take a step back and realize that terrified me. So.
Yeah. And she said, I love that she had this whole little monologue to him while he's sleeping. And don't you dare get hurt, and don't you dare ever leave me. A very Rosemary way to say it.
Very much.
And his little smile. Yeah.
Cute little smile.
Just love them. I just love them. They are the cutest.
They are.
We unfortunately do have to leave, everyone, but not for long. Just for another week or so.
Just till next time.
So thank you all for joining us, and we will see you next time. Bye, Hearties.
Bye.